MonteDataWorx, the use case that was presented there and that we're solving for our customers is to say, we want the means for our business to raise a vacancy request, have that vacancy request come through to HR to approve or decline the request. And once approved, let's put it so that the vacancy is available for candidates in the public to apply on it via a career portal. And once that candidate has been vetted and approved, let's take that candidate, make him an employee, and take him through an onboarding journey. When we talk about MonteDataWorx, we are going to focus on candidate record management, those people that apply for the vacancies. We are going to talk about interview scheduling and interview evaluation after the candidate has been interviewed. We are going to talk about workflow and outcome tracking through all of these various parts through actually becoming an employee. We're going to talk about the structured onboarding process and ultimately taking that employee after it's been onboarded into actually pushing that employee into your payroll system so that you don't have to recapture all of the data that has been verified and validated in the onboarding journey again in payroll. We believe in a single source of truth. So if data is captured one place, it's validated and approved, there's no reason why we have to do this again. This is what MonteDataWorx looks like. When you access it with the required permissions, you are taken to a landing page. You can see certain drop-down menus on the left. I can see the recruit main header, the onboarding main header, and the global settings. So let's start with global settings. Global settings is that which is in your control as an HR user or CEO or the conductor that's going to manage this application. So you are able to load users onto this application. You will load a user with the email address, you will tell them whether they're active or inactive, whether they can access the system or not access the system, and then you'll assign them different roles. Typically, someone that is assigned the HR role and active, they would be the conductor, but someone that is an employee or associated with the employee profile is someone that would supply and confirm their own details throughout the process of the onboarding. Something that's really cool about the onboarding tasks, and I wanted to show you this specifically, is that you are able to create your own onboarding sequence. You as the HR person applied for the vacancy, has now become a successful employee. They need to supply HR and the rest of business with documents. So you get to build and say, you know what, when this person is now onboarded, I need to verify his personal details. I need to get a copy of the banking details. Maybe there are certain permits that we need to acquire if they're traveling cross-border, and they have to maybe sign certain policies and procedures. You, the conductor, the HR manager, gets to say, cool, these are the tasks that I want him to complete. These are the onboarding sequence phase that specific task is relevant for, and we are assigning that task to an employee and flag it. Is it mandatory? Is it not mandatory for that employee to complete? So typically something like a medical aid certificate or medical aid application form, a pension provident fund application form, a copy of the ID, proof of banking details. This is all of the information that you want to obtain during that employee's onboarding process. And we get to send them SMSs, emails, in-app notifications to get that information during the onboarding process. Recruitment. We want to give you a dashboard that just highlights what your recruitment process looks like. So currently in this example, we have 3 vacant positions that has been approved and is ready for candidates to apply. We have 4 pending vacancy requests. So those are the people that are authorized in your business to raise vacancies within the department. Let's say, for example, accounting needs a new debtors clerk. So we want the head of accounting to come here and raise vacancies for that specific position. I can maybe highlight in your business to say, you know what, out of the 3 vacant positions, these are the company rules that they are linked to. So I have a vacant position for Montez Holdings, and I have 2 vacant positions that are currently with Flint. I can also tell you where in the process of the actual vacancy and interview process those specific tasks lie. So I can say, great stuff, I have 5 applications in review, I have 2 interviews that needs to be scheduled, they are still pending, like a workflow highlight of what I as an HR user still need to attend to. And then lastly, on the bottom, I can just tell you, you know what, of the applicants that has applied for the vacancies, I can see their racial grouping and maybe see their gender breakdown. It's nice to give this kind of feedback back to the rest of business. When you sit in a boardroom and they say, Craig or whoever, what does our vacancies look like? Who is applying for these vacancies? We can highlight those for you. Okay. So going to the task of requesting a vacancy. This is typically someone that is authorized, a department head, that can come here and say, you know what, I need another position within my department to be filled. I, for example, am logged in. It is grayed out because this is the person that I'm impersonating. I can't edit these details. And then that person would need to complete the rest of the form. It's the application details that include the closing date. So when does this vacancy close? Important to note whether it's internal or external, because if it's internal, it won't show to the public as a vacant position for candidates to apply. Is it a new position or a replacement? If the head of department indicates that it's a replacement, we would ask that they just confirm who it is that they are replacing. We would ask the person also to just highlight what is the reason that we are requesting this new vacancy to be created. And with everything in life, data being supplied by the person requesting the vacancy within the department, they need to give us as much information so that the team that has to manage this workflow and has to approve this vacancy has all of the information available to them to make that decision. Here I am, head of the department, saying I am looking for a vacancy within this company. I'm looking for a job title. Maybe I'm looking for a 3D artist. The nature of the position start date, the region. I can indicate if it's for a specific group or for a gender, and whether or not this role has to be a disability or not. And then lastly, I can attach the job description here. So now me, the head of the department, I've completed this form and I've submitted it through so that the vacancy can be approved by workflow. Removing the hat as a head of a department, I'm now moving over into the role as the HR person that needs to manage all of these vacancy requests coming from business. I get an email notification or an in-app notification, and that goes to pending approvals. Now, as an HR person, I can say, okay, great stuff. I have a request coming through. It was requested by Alex. He is looking for a 2D animator. I have a copy of the job description. The nature of the position is permanent. Okay, cool. Let's have a look and see if we want to make this pending approval approved. So once I've approved this request by clicking on the button, it'll take me through to all of the approved vacancy request that was completed by the head of department. I can see great stuff. There were 2 vacancies raised already that has been filled. The employee is starting with his onboarding journey, or I have 3 vacancies that have been approved, but they are still vacant. And it is those 3 that are still vacant that we are pushing through to the careers portal. And I love this section because the careers portal is something that we would want to give you, our customers, the means to take the URL and embed it in your website, or copy the link in a LinkedIn post. Wherever you would want to make all of your approved vacancies available, you have the means to do it. And when they click on the link, this is what they'll see. So me now taking off the hat of an HR manager and being a candidate in the public that comes to your website that wants to apply for a vacancy can say, you know what, these are the vacancies available. I want to apply for the business manager position. As a business manager position, let's have a look. Great stuff. The application is closing the end of December. Here is the HR contact email, contact person. I have the website, so me as a candidate can go to the website, maybe have a read about what the business is about, see the address and location, position type is permanent, and I click on apply. So the candidate can then go and click on apply. So with any career portal, when you apply for a vacancy that has been approved by HR, you would then have to provide certain information. I can then say, you know what, I'm going to apply. You all are going to know how old I am right now. Trying to remember this. Okay, cool. So as I complete the form, more of the subsections below the request will open up for me. We try and not overwhelm the candidate when they apply for the position with just a whole list of things that they need to submit on the form. We really try and make it a beautiful transition. I've entered the ID number and now the candidate details section has opened up. I can enter my name and surname, my email address, where I heard about this application, was this a referral, what is my current employee status, etc. So as I complete the application and I have to supply additional information, that'll come through. Again, as soon as someone has applied, a candidate for a vacancy, you as the HR would then be notified to say a new application has been received. You come to your portal and you have a look-see and say, oh, okay, great. I have Timmy Smith that has applied for the vacancy. This is his age, he's male. Here's a copy of his CV, which I can click on and maybe send that through to review. I like this candidate. I want to review this candidate. As soon as I click review application, it'll then go through to the in-progress applications to be reviewed. I can then see throughout the entire recruitment process where that vacancy is. Lillian Redford is currently in review, but there is a never re-employ flag. How do we know that there's a never re-employ flag? So the benefit of the system is if I go to all candidates, it shows me everyone that has applied for that vacancy within your business. I can see Lillian Redford has applied. This is her detail as a candidate, and I can see all of the vacancies that she's applied for in the past. But we have flagged her as never re-employ, so therefore we get that stop indicator as soon as we see that she's applied for a vacancy. A really, really cool feature. Now that the candidate has applied for the position, we've had the interviews, we've uploaded the interview evaluation, we go through to the onboarding process. Here, as an HR person, the employee has been successfully recruited, they have signed the documents, and they are now being onboarded. We try and give the HR team a dashboard to say what tasks are still pending with them. Of all of the onboarding employees, there are 20 pending tasks, 10 in the pipeline, and 6 that have been completed. Because you will remember that we gave you the permission to configure your own process to manage employees onboarding. So if I go to Beth Marshall, for example, I have all of Beth Marshall's information that'll be pushed through to payroll, but I can also see all of the onboarding phases that have been completed. I can see great stuff, the personnel detail process is relevant, banking detail confirmation, all of that is there and part for the employee to complete. In a nutshell, that is what we are trying to solve for MonteDataWorx. Allow you to raise vacancies within your business, have the public candidate apply for those vacancies, and then ultimately make the approved candidate an employee and take them through your onboarding journey.